Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dwarf Fortress. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed the week of Civilization Beyond Earth. If you haven't checked it out, I suggest you do. It's a pretty freaking awesome game, but we're not here to talk about that today. We're here today to talk about Dwarf Fortress. So, a couple UI elements I want to point out before we continue forward. Up here, in the top right-hand corner, we have Idlers 3. Now, that's fairly self-explanatory, but it basically means we have 3 dwarves not doing anything. Now, a fairly newbie mistake, I made it myself, is to try to get that number down to 0. That's not, in fact, what you want. You want to make sure that you have at least a few idlers, because if you have no idlers, then there's nobody left to take care of the snap important jobs. Something needs to be hauled. Well, if you have no idlers, it's going to take a while for that to happen, because hauling is a fairly low priority job. If you have a few idlers, something all of a sudden needs to be hauled, and one of them, of course, has the hauling labors enabled, hey, no problem. You have a dwarf that's just waiting and ready to do it, unless they're, of course, drinking, which dwarves do a lot. So there's that one. The other UI element I wanted to point out down here, and this one actually kind of took me a little while to figure out what this all meant. These numbers down here. These are your happiness levels. These are how many dwarves you have at each level. Dwarves can have 7 stages of happiness, and they basically range from the very worst, which is this dark red number over here, to the very best, which is this green number here. As you can see in our fortress, we have 1 dwarf who's kind of at the neutral mood, and then 6 who are in a slightly good mood. So this seems like a pretty good time to start working towards things to make sure that they are happy. And there are 2 things that make dwarves happy, other than drinking. That's like the first 5 things that make a dwarf happy. Drinking, 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 drinking. Dining rooms, bedrooms. We're going to start with the bedrooms today because this gives me an excellent opportunity to show off one of my favorite programs, or I guess 2 favorite programs, that go along with Dwarf Fortress. However, before we get to that, there's one more thing I want to set up, and that is a stockpile in this room. Now, what I want to do is I want to set up a stockpile in here that will hold all of my stone blocks. Now, what we can do to make this fairly easy to set up is if we, I've already hit the wrong button there. Okay, if we go in here and we set up our custom stockpile settings, and so we don't want food, but we do want, where are they? Blocks. Am I blind? Oh, there they are. Enable blocks. We do not want metal blocks in here, so we're going to forbid those with the F key. We don't want other material blocks in here, so we're going to forbid those. Or sorry, bars, I should say. We do want stone and clay blocks. We do not want metal blocks, nor do we want blocks of other materials. So we just want stone blocks in here because that's what these workshops are going to be using. So what we do is we select that, and then we can just basically highlight this entire room, and that will put a stockpile everywhere where we do not have a workshop already. Now there's one more thing I want to do. So I want to clear out basically all of the portions where I plan to put a workshop later on. Now that we've done that, we have to come up here, press escape, and then click on this stockpile so that we can change the settings, and we want to make sure that we remove stone and clay blocks from here because we don't want them stored up here, we want them down here. So when we resume, our dwarves will go ahead and start hauling the stone blocks to here. And that'll take them a little while. We don't have too many, but at the very least, this will give us a place nice and close for our furniture workshop to start drawing from. Now, before we continue, I want to get on to what I was talking about earlier. And some of my 2 favorite programs for this game that kind of go alongside it are Picture Fort and Quick Fort. Now, what you can do, okay, so this is our workshop. This is where our dining room is going to be. Let's go down one more level. This is where our bedrooms are going to be. So if we're going to mine out a hallway. Now, what we could do is we could go, okay, I want, bedrooms here, so, I could do that, and then, okay, I want a 2 wide hallway, so 1, 2, and then like this, oops, and then I make a mistake, so I have to go back and fix it. Oh, I realized that I didn't leave myself enough room for a hallway, so now I have to go and delete this, and, I mean, you can do that, and you know what, maybe for your first fortress you want to do stuff like that, but one of the things that turns a lot of people off is there's a little bit of repetitive building, especially in the form of bedrooms. Now, in vanilla Dwarf Fortress, what people like to do is they like to build something called Matchstick Bedrooms, which is basically you build a hallway like this, and then you go, I think it's like 3, that's 4, but whatever. I'm not actually going to do this. You go like this, and each one of these little areas is a bedroom, that a dwarf would live in. I don't like doing that. I mean, it works, yeah, sure. Maybe it's efficient even. But I like to give my dwarves something a little more. If you're going to live in one of my forts, you're going to be the dwarves that are living in style, even if you're the lowliest peasant in the place. Digging that all out and designating all that is a right royal pain. So we are going to use a program called Picture Fort. And what this does is it allows us to turn a picture into a template that QuickFort will then use in the game. Now, QuickFort is like a macroing program for Dwarf Fortress. So why don't I stop just trying to explain it to you guys and show you what I mean. So here's an example of my bedroom layout that I'm going to be using in this fort. However, I've already done this since this took a little while for me to put together. I'm going to create a new template, or a new image, just to kind of show you guys how to use this. So we create a new one, and this is using Gimp, by the way. It's a free image editing program. You can use like MS Paint or something like that. I prefer to use Gimp because it allows me to do layers. So if I go back to this image for a second, so see, I've got all these layers in the side here. Well, I can turn all this off, and okay, this is my digging layer just for my commoner areas, right? So after I did that, okay, this is what I want it to look like. Now I do a new layer, and that's my furniture. And that's what all these colored dots are. And now I do another layer, and it's like, okay, well, I want to have a variant if I want this hallway to house a noble. So there's my noble dig site, but I don't have to have that. So it allows you to basically have multiple different pictures without having to, create a new picture for each one. But anyway, so let's get to this. So when you first start up Gimp, you're going to just have, so this is just a 10 pixel by 10 pixel square. This is not really useful for building, though, at least not for me. I like to have the grid lines. So what I do, if we go into we go to View, we go Show Grid. Now that still hasn't shown us anything. Why? Well, because Gimp by default does a grid of 10 pixels by 10 pixels. Well, that's one block on ours. So what we want to do is go into Image, Configure Grid, then change the spacing here to 1. And when you press Tab, it'll link the two together. And there we go. So each block in here, or each square on this picture, relates to one square in the game. So what we do is say we want to do some digging, right? So we're going to go here. I want, say, black for my digging color. Let's say we want to build a bedroom. So we're going to select our pencil. Make sure your size is 1 pixel wide. And make sure you have under View, Snap to Grid turned on. Actually, I don't think you need that with a pencil. Let's try that real quick. Okay, sorry. Never mind. You don't need that with a pencil. So let's say so this is our template, right? Now we want to do some digging. So let's say we want to have a hallway like this. Oops. Hallway like that. One thing, I don't want dynamic pencil brush. You know what? It doesn't really matter. As long as you just click once with a pencil, you can make it so that it won't do this shading like it was kind of doing, but I'm not going to bother with that here. All right, so let's say we want a hallway like that, and maybe we want to do, some bedrooms coming off of it like this, or whatever these rooms could be used for. Doesn't really matter. You dig them out like that. I'm just doing this as an example anyway. And one more. Okay, so this is our template, right? We're going to rename this layer to our dig layer. All right, now we also want another layer, and we're going to call this layer furniture. Furniture. There we go. Now on this layer, say we want to do some furniture. Well, what we do here is we pick a different color other than black. Let's say we want to go green. And actually, let's say we want to do this brown for our doors. So we just click on each area where we want a door, and that'll create and make sure you have the furniture layer selected, because if I turn off the furniture layer, you can see that, this is where our doors are going. And then you go ahead and you do that. Say you want maybe some beds, assuming that we're making bedrooms here, like that. and so on and so forth. And you do that for each different item, with each different with each separate item being its own color. And that's very important. Each item needs to be its own color. So you do that, and then you can go ahead, and I suggest saving the actual the XCF file, which is Gimp's proprietary format. It's kind of like Photoshop's what's Photoshop's file format? PFD, I think is Photoshop. I don't remember. Either way, I suggest saving this because this saves all your layers and everything, so you don't have to recreate this later on. And we're just going to call this Picture Fort Tutorial. And we'll put this in here and save it. After you do that, though, Picture Fort can't read this. What you then need to do is you need to export it as an image. So if we hit export as, or export, either way, it doesn't work. Or it doesn't, either way, it doesn't matter. It all works. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Okay, so Picture Fort Tutorial, we export that as a PNG. Make sure it's a PNG or a, what was the other? A bitmap, I believe, are the two file formats that Picture Fort can handle. And then you click export. Just leave these as their default. It's perfectly fine. And away it goes. Now we have Picture Fort. Now here's an example of Picture Fort that I did earlier. Again, you know what? We'll come back to this after I do this one. Now, one thing I want to point out, I am not using the version of Picture Fort that is currently shipping, as at least at the time of recording, is currently shipping with Masterwork Dwarf Fortress. There's a version 2 out on the Dwarf Fortress website, or on the Dwarf Fortress forums, that I will link to in the description for this video. And I heavily recommend that you get this, because version 2 adds so many useful features. Version 1 is just fine. It was an excellent starting point, but version 2 has done a lot more for this program than anything else. Okay, so we have our Picture Fort here. What we want to do is we want to click Load Images, and we want to click on our Picture Fort tutorial. And that'll open up, a kind of rough image of our Picture Fort, right? Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that we select our different modes. Well, the black is our digging, so we want that. We also want to build, which is what's going to create our beds and our doors. We also want to do what's called a query. Now, we haven't really touched on this yet, but what this is going to do is tell your dwarves that it's okay to use this room as a bedroom. We'll get to more onto that as we advance further on, but for now, just know that this is important. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to go into color designations. So we have, I think I have two different colors of black here. Either way, it doesn't matter. So the first column is your dig commands, which is really just, mine, channel, stairs, all the stuff we've seen before. This is all in our designation menu, essentially. And for the most part, you're just probably going to want to use mine like 90% of the time. But who knows? Maybe you guys have some really interesting uses for this that I don't know of. I look forward to seeing them. White is going to be our empty color. These are the blocks we're not doing anything with, so we're going to leave it blank. Now, this green, this is going to be our beds. So what we do is in our second column here, we select bed. Now, if you notice, when we selected bed, it automatically selected mine over here. Well, that's because before you can place a bed, you have to dig out the area that the bed will take up, hence the mining. Now, there's one more thing that we want to do for beds, and that is we want to go over to the last column and tell it that make a room. That's what the query mode will do. You can also place items, but we're not really going to worry about that for this tutorial, at least not right now. Mostly because I never use it. I'm not really 100% sure how it works, I'll be perfectly honest. I mostly use this for just digging out rooms that I would keep having to do manually but don't want to. But technically, you could plan out an entire fortress in Gimp and then just import it into Dwarf Fortress using these programs. All right, and then for the second one, we want to do door. Now notice I can type in what I want. So I can go D-O, door, press tab, and there you go. That's all done for you. Now if we go back to our image preview, we can select our start point. That is basically where the cursor has to be when you start the template from running. Now we're going to go ahead and just say bottom left, just for this one. You can add comments if you want. I don't really see the need unless you're trying to maybe share this with other people. Now, output file names. This is important. What you want to do, or with the way I like to do it personally, you can change this around, is you type in square bracket, name, square bracket, space, square bracket, mode, square bracket. And what this will do is it will, because this is going to export 3 files currently, a dig file, a build file, and a query file. And what this will do is each file will be named, picture fort tutorial space dig.csv, because they're exported as CSV files. Picture fort tutorial space build.csv, and so on and so forth. And that's all. That's all you need to do for this part. So you click on single template, and it's going to go ahead and export that. And then if we go ahead down here and we take a look in our templates, we see picture fort tutorial build, picture fort tutorial dig, picture fort tutorial query. It's all right in there. So now what do we do? Well, we can minimize picture fort, or you can close it. We're done with it at this point. And here's an example of the one I was doing earlier. I've got two in here because one of them I exported 2 different templates, one with nobles, one without, or with nobles without, in that order. And then over here we have all my color designations. We'll get to what, how all this plays in later on. So after you do that, you go back into your game and you start up QuickFort. And QuickFort I have running already. You can't see anything. When you first start up QuickFort though, you're going to see something that looks like this, following your mouse cursor around. Or, well, I guess it follows, it follows your mouse cursor around. So what you want to do is you want to press Alt-F. That'll open up your file browser. We go back out to our templates. Now we go Picture Fort Tutorial Dig. And you select that. It'll pop up this little window that tells you where it starts, bottom left, command use frequency. So we dig out 66 squares. The width is 10 by 10, so on and so forth. So you do that. Then what you do is in the game, you press D for dig, and QuickFort gives you all this information in the little pop-up here, but I'm going to just go through it anyway. So you press D, and then you can press Alt-V, and that will show you the footprint. So as you can see, I have this in the wrong spot. So let's move it up, Alt-V, and there we go. So that shows me the footprint. Now I press Alt-D. Oops. Whoa, okay. Okay, stop. This will happen from time to time. Usually if there's an error in your file, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. You can either, best bet is to close down QuickFort. Just right, click over here, click exit, and then fire up QuickFort again, just to make sure that it wasn't a problem with kind of a previously loaded file stepping all over things. We press Alt F4. That's build. That's not what we want. Not Alt F4, sorry. Don't press that key. Do not press that key. That won't go well for you. Alt F, select dig, and let's try this again, shall we? See if this works. If it doesn't work, then I'm not just going to go ahead with the blueprint I plan to use. Alt D. No, okay. There is something wrong with this file. Now, when you get this pop-up, it's probably not a bad idea to select OK and then Alt Tab away from Dwarf Fortress, just so it doesn't screw up anything in your fort. And then we wait for for QuickFort to be done. What we can actually do is probably go down here and just pause script. Is it done? Come on. You know you wanna. Okay, there we go. All right, yeah, I'm just gonna. There's obviously a problem with that picture fort file that it made. I'm not gonna bother debugging it at this point because honestly, I have no intention to actually use it. So let's go bedroom with nobles and dig, because these are the ones I'm actually planning to use. Now, this one I have set up. I basically put it where I want my first bedroom to start as far as a left-right wall is concerned, which is right here, I'm thinking. And then we Alt-D, and there's all my bedrooms. So we have 20 bedrooms per hallway, and a noble bedroom at the end to house a noble. And then we can repeat that a few times if we want, but right now we're not going to. And we're going to let the dwarves start digging that out. And after you've done that, after you're done with Quick Fort, or you don't need it for a little while, you don't have to close it to get rid of this pop-up. Just press Alt-H, and that'll hide that little menu. Now be careful, it's just hiding it. Quick Fort is still running it. So if I were to press Alt-D right now, bad things would happen. But, what's this? Need pigtail spawns. Okay, never mind. That's not anything important. Oh, you know what? I was an idiot. I didn't start up SoundSense. It's not like we've really been doing much in the actual Dwarf Fortress game this episode, but it's still a good idea to have that going. All right. There we go. I think that's actually playing to the wrong audio device. Uno más. Or uno momente, I should say. Not one more. Playback devices. Default device. There we go. So you guys probably didn't hear that, or if you did, it was through my microphone. It will sound horrible. I was playing to my computer speakers rather than my headphones. So apologies for that. That was my bad. But anyway, we'll let them go ahead and dig out this this place. While they do that, we want to get this guy building up some furniture for us. Now what we could do is we could go add new task, scroll down to bedroom set noble, and this is part of the reason why I like Quick Fort for this, is because I like to give all my regular dwarves, even my commoners, noble bedroom sets. That's a lot of stuff to have to place on your own. This makes it a lot easier. But anyway, we could go in here, make bedroom set, make bedroom set, make bedroom set. That's chump work. We're not going to do that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find a dwarf that will be a good manager. And to do that, we flip over to our handy-dandy dwarf therapist. Connect to Dwarf Fortress. Wait for it to load. We go social, and we want to find somebody who is a good manager, leader/manager. Well, that's going to be this Zotir. Now let's make sure that he's not doing anything else important. He is our farmer, so he is actually doing something important. The thing here is you want to make sure that you pick a dwarf that is not necessarily good at anything else or is not doing an important job. So let's take a look at this Naglak. What's he doing? Absolutely nothing. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we go back into here, press escape, press N to get into our nobles, move down to manager, and we're going to tell Naglak that he is going to be our expedition, or not only our expedition leader, but also our manager. Now, if you notice, there is a red outline around the require workbrain, the require setting word, whatever. Now, if we take a look at this, at the manager again, well, he's saying that he can't do his job because he needs a meager office. Now, unless they change something on me, you don't actually need an office when you're under 20 jobs for the manager to work.
Migrants. Dibs on the cute female, huh? Oh, that didn't sound lecherous, did it?
Okay, so we have some migrants. We'll get to them in a moment. We're not quite done with what I was trying to say before. To use our manager, we have to press U to bring up our unit list, press M to bring up our manager page, then press Q to create a new order. Now we can search this page, and what we want is noble. Don't type too quickly because it has a problem reading quick key presses. So we want noble stone bedroom sets. And we're going to want, say, 10 of them to start. How many rooms do we have? Actually, I think I may have made that hallway a bit too big. But, you know what? We're getting pretty close to the end of this episode. I can go back and change that later. So we're going to actually shorten down that hallway, and I'm going to alter my template to match. I usually end up making new templates for each fortress because I like each one of my fortresses to look different. And we're going to tell him that we want 11 bedroom sets. We press enter. And what this should do is when we unpause, we should then have, see here? We have make stone bedroom sets being queued up here, and that's our manager doing that. So our manager will make sure that 11 bedroom sets are created. And we'll just basically keep rescheduling the job until we have 11 bedroom sets. Now, as I said, he only will work without an office until about 20 dwarves. Once you have 20 dwarves, he needs an office. And we will cover how to create noble offices on the next episode of Dwarf Fortress. So, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you have found this useful. Sorry we haven't spent a lot of time in Dwarf Fortress today, but using Picture Fort, using a combination of Gimp, Picture Fort, and Quick Fort can make this game so much less tedious, because that is a huge problem when you're trying to build bedrooms for 200 dwarves. Gets a little tedious after a while. So thank you guys very much for joining me. Any feedback you care to leave in the form of a like, dislike, or comment below is greatly appreciated. I read every one and take every one to heart. And so long.